and get that working since I wanted to try it. Unable to connect to the YouTubes. Well, let's look at it. Looks like it's going. In which case, hello, YouTube live streamers. Okay, so I'm not sure how this is going to go with comments and things. If I remember right, there is a different chat. Okay, that's. I feel good about that. Cool. So we are live streaming. It looks good. Auto. Let's do this. Okay. We'll see the difference for how people find it with the YouTube, but since this is publicly visible to everybody, right? I'll share the YouTube version on the Twitter. Day 4. Burp. All right, see how that goes. All right, we are on the live stream. Set up here and my live stream. Okay, so Restream also has a chat capability. I will keep this open. Looks good there. And I'm adjusting my private one, private window. Looks like the setup is a go. So we have both YouTube and Twitch. Cool. All right, so this is day 4 of the 24-hour startup sales challenge week, where I am going through and helping indie makers and shippers who participated in the 24-hour startup challenge that was last Saturday, November 17th. And this is the list of the companies or individuals who completed a project startup. And what I'm doing is I'm going to pick one, and then I'm going to see how I can help them get to a path to revenue and start to get sales or some kind of monetization. So day 1, I helped ShareMetrics, which is a SaaS application for people to create metrics and share it with their team, kind of like project management meets metrics, or specifically just for metrics. Day 2, I worked on a Chrome extension for data visualization with Airtable. Yesterday, day 3, I helped, what's it called? Blake's onboardinglist.xyz, which is a curated or user-generated resource of onboarding flows from different websites. And today we're going to do 2 because I plan on live streaming most of this day. So this is going to be the first one I'm going to do. I'm just going to pick one, and then once we're solid with that, I'm going to do a sidetrack thing where I'm going to work on this idea I had yesterday after seeing Sarah, the founder of Canny.io. She did a 2-year retrospective of what it's been like as an indie founder on the path to figuring out what works for her, her company with her co-founder and her life. And the topic that came up to me was, how do we celebrate our wins when we work remotely or as a digital nomad? So since I resonated strongly with that, I came up with an idea of creating a Sales Gong website where you can click a button and hear an awesome gong sound. And that's going to be it. So this is going to be hopefully a short detour. I don't plan on doing a lot of super complicated functionality for this. I mean, picture of gong, button, on-click button, play sound, that level of detail, because I feel that the faster that we can get things out there, the more that we can get the feedback from people about what's the value and who are we reaching out to and how are we talking with the community of people we want to be engaging with. So that's what's going on. And let's start day 4. Day 4. 24-hour sales challenge week. 24-hour startup. Sales challenge week. So one thing that's interesting for me doing this with the 24-hour startup community is where I'm starting to dig in is really, what am I learning about what they're doing? Can I understand the problem that they're solving? Who has this problem? So these are really early development laying of a path of what it's like to revenue, rather than saying, I'm going to get you 5 customers, or I'm going to talk to 10 potential customers for you, because really there's so much that has to be established up front to say, well, how am I going to know who to talk to? I can't really tell. So the purpose of these live streams is to bring the viewers or the audience or people who want to work on their sales to see, like, well, how do we answer these questions in a way that when we get to the outcome, which is we're starting to talk to people in our market in a way that is interesting to them, we're starting from nothing. And by nothing, I mean it is literally the choices that I have are going to be based on an icon, a headline, and I don't know, what is this, 200 characters of a description. And that's really where I'm starting. And sometimes just watching that process helps people to realize I can also do this and that this is not rocket science. Talking to people and doing the sales, a lot of people are overcoming the hurdles with development by live streaming their startup idea. And the focus that I'm doing is not so much on being a better developer. The focus that I'm doing is how do I develop something that serves a value to a market where people will pay me, which is a different priority. And they can go hand in hand with working on development efforts. Like if you want to work on Python, or you want to build a chat bot, or you want to build a Chrome extension, or you want to build a marketplace, like you can do any of those things from a development perspective to increase your skills and to see if you can do it, which is a wonderful achievement. And it's also a wonderful achievement to be able to say, I built something that people want and will give me money for. I would like to have more conversation and attention to that idea because I think that the next step of what it means to be a startup or what it means to have a side hustle is that it brings in money. And bringing in money is not the same thing as learning how to code, unless that's what you're doing as a job, in which case, totally awesome. It's like an experiment. It could be a portfolio. You post it, you're on GitHub. You tell people, hey, I know how to use this skill set of this framework or this library. I speak this coding language to get more work for someone, to build something for someone else. Totally legit path to cash, or a side hustle where you want to get into programming for pay. Totally makes sense. Like that is realistically something that is probably a good fit for many people who are doing a 24-hour startup challenge to have an accomplishment of better development skills, of having something finished that they can share that has functionality. Totally fine. And if people are interested in wanting to talk about that, I'm open to it. In which case, I can do a different live stream, which is not specifically to sales, but how to get work or how to get freelance jobs or freelance gigs or how to go to be a part-time or a full-time developer somewhere. That could be a different kind of live stream that I think can help a lot of people, because for some, this is a conversation that I've had with others. So we work our tails off to build a startup, and we are excited when it makes $100, right? Well, you can work your tail off, get a new job, and make 10 grand more a year or 20 grand more a year from the same level of effort. So if we're looking at it as what can create more revenue for who I am and my skill sets, it is not a bad idea to develop your skills, put yourself on the market, get out there and see who needs help that you can fill with your development background and get to a higher paying job. I think that is an underrated path that most people, they don't talk about because we love the idea of working for ourselves. But if we're talking about how do I generate revenue and how am I responsible for its creation, if you went and got a 10 or 20 or $30,000 a year increase in salary, you just created a better life for yourself. So if we want to talk about that, or if anyone has ideas or feedback of what that looks like, wants to chat, let me know on this Twitter. So I am Vanessa Pagan, so at Vanessa Pagan, that's me. And I'm checking this regularly throughout the stream. And actually, I don't need to have this up here now. I'm checking it regularly to see if anyone wants to talk about anything. And this will be a way to kind of engage. So the way that I've found this live stream to work is that people are super interested, just not in real time, which I entirely understand because I'm doing this live stream during traditional working hours, business hours. So anyone who's in side hustle territory, or I have a full-time gig and I am a weekend maker, they can come back to these and watch these afterwards. I'm also sharing a recap of Twitter of like, what did I do? Who did I do it for the super short attention span? If you don't want to do a deep dive of the like 4-hour streams I've done, today is going to be a longer day. I'm going to divide it up into two parts. So we'll have a 4A and a 4B stream, just because I want to be able to help people specifically related to, as I go through this deep dive for each of the two 24-hour startups that I'm working on today. So that's what's going on, given some context, some ideas. This helps me. I'm going to actually write this down because every day I try to bring a topic related to sales or revenue that helps create basic foundational understanding of the part where you get to make money for sales and marketing if you come from a traditionally development heavy background. And it's just things to think about. So we talked about the path to revenue from Chrome extension. We talked about path to revenue from a curated website. We talked to path to revenue to finding freemium SaaS users. So those are each slightly different ways or reasons why you are going to attract customers or attract value from a marketplace. So I'm going to keep that in mind every day as I go through things to kind of break down the fundamentals of why am I thinking about things in a certain way. And then I'm going to share that and include that in this Google Doc that I'm going to write up all my notes. So one thing that I'm doing here is, so the live stream concept, very interesting. So you get to see my screen and you get to see, my face in the corner and you get to hear my voice. But a lot of what I'm doing, and the same thing with live code streaming, is abstract, the logic that happens mentally. So I try to have you hear it when I say it out loud, and I try to have you see it by writing it down, and you're seeing what I'm working on. So I'm hoping that helps with creating a learning arc that someone can follow along to see, well, how did I get from this thought process of which is a stream of consciousness that I have to put this out here, but I generally try and follow a structure of, first we're starting from wherever we are. Right now it's like I'm blindfolded and I'm picking, a number out of a hat for which 24-hour startup to use. And then from there, we're slowly unpacking, okay, who is it? What does it do? Why does it do this? Who might need this? And so it's this path that we go to, and that by the end of this segment, I will have ideas for, okay, who can I talk to? Which is the most important thing. So the question of who are we talking to and why would it be relevant to reach out to them are the ultimate deliverables for sales. So, well, the ultimate deliverable for where we are right now to having a conversation where the other person engages with us. So we can do everything in terms of building features. That's all within our wheelhouse as developers, but we can only go so far to engage in a conversation with the market or with a person to see what they have to, what they think about what we've done, to hear what their actual problems are, and to confirm that, yeah, this is a problem for me. Yes, I spend money on this. I trust you enough. I will give you the money and you will fix it for me. So this is really the goal of whatever sales looks like. And this is slightly different than having something like a donation. Like a lot of open source developers, they rely on donations to work. And I read the most amazing Twitter thread about open source developers need to play where the money game is, by the rules of where the money is being kept. So this thread, I think it was something, it was amazing. I actually think I'd like to set something up to help people do just that. Let me find it. It was a roll on security. I'm not sure where to put it. So this was a Twitter. Actually, I think I first saw it on Indie Hackers and it took me somewhere. So let's see if I can find it now, and then I'll include it here. So we talked about oh, I'm not sure. This was something. Let me see if I can show you where I'm going to. find this. Yeah, okay. That's fine. This was yesterday. I'm not sure. What was the something on security? It was something, an unroll thread. We're just going to search for that. Right, it was unroll. Let's see if I can, this was recently. No, okay. I'm not sure where it was, but it was definitely a favorite. So I think it is security. I can't believe I don't have the unroll me thread. I will have to search for this. Oh, sweet. Thanks, Makers Up. I saw that you shared about what I'm doing, so I'm excited about that. Thank you. I'm going to get off my tangent about this amazing thread that talks about the relationship between donation model for open source developers versus how companies buy. It was really great. They talked about like having a fax number as just makes companies super excited, and you better take purchase orders, and you better accept wire transfers while you're at it. And I think that that's something that I'm curious to see if I were to set up the systems for looking like an enterprise provider. So this would be things like a central bank account, central PO system, sending out all of the follow-up emails to keep in touch and create the support contracts, creating a baseline of SLAs, agreements, so that the contracts make sense when it runs by legal, that kind of thing, and see if that would have some kind of value. I'm thinking about it, but I feel like I already have so much going on today in this live stream. I just want to keep it in mind because I do think it makes a lot of sense where developers just want to focus on the development and updating and creating better features and maintaining what they've created, while the conversations related to how do you get paid for that work has to translate to how people are used to buying. And by people, I mean organizations that process with some kind of purchasing agent or purchasing departments or an accounts receivable department. That's more than just I can't put it on the P card. So if you have an amount and you can send an invoice for a particular type of contract, this is a different type of language that the developers may not be interested in doing. If I were to put together a system like that, I think I'd like to see if open source developers were interested, and I could be their enterprise sales arm to create the system for them and then do some kind of revenue share something for doing that work. I'm thinking about it, but that's not where where we are today. Today, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to you. 24-hour startup. Here we go. All right, so this is our list, and this is like a squirrel sidetrack topic. And we also talked about use 24-hour startup. To get a better paying job. I don't know, 10 to 30K increase in salary. Some it could be double, it could be 50K, 100, it depends. But that's not unheard of, which is also a win, just a different type of win. And it's definitely not as attractive. People want to be independent, hustle, working for themselves. Really, the people who work for themselves, their bosses are the people who pay them. So it's different. So your customers are your bosses, or your investors are like a boss, who are people who hold you accountable because they are giving you money. So anyone that is giving you money has some kind of accountability that you have to maintain a certain level of either functionality, deliverable, uptime, something. So it's really, how do you change the idea of what works for you? So better paying job, donation model for open source developers, and now we're back on it. So today's day 4 morning session startup. I'm back. Okay, I'm done with my introduction. Here we are. Tester development survey. Ooh. Well, I'm interested in that. Survey Val. Customer surveys. Manuel. Let's check it out. Steve Blank, the OG of startups. Pricing launching soon. Survey Val. Okay. I like this. Is it too obviously business focused? So no, I don't think so. I think this is going to be our part 1. So it has clear pricing path. Yeah, let's do it. Let's find out where Manuel is and let him know. Survey Val. What does he spell it? .app. All right, survey val. We're helping Manuel. And he's this. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm glad that I'm doing morning time East Coast for someone who's based in Italy. Hopefully, if he's online, he can see this and chat or have questions or give you some feedback about how this is going. Okay. Customer development on autopilot. Battle tested customer surveys. Maybe I can. Let's see. I'm going to ping him in the Telegram group just to let him know. See if he might be there. Oh, he already replied. What does this mean? Okay. I will give him a short tweet version since he's asking what is it. Fair enough. Okay. Let's see. Where did that go? Means I'm live streaming to find and talk to people who can Does this work? Can we see this? I'm going from one to the other. All right. So that's going to be his answer. What does it mean? Maybe I'm using too many words, but here we go. This is also helpful to figure out how do people understand this concept of what a sales challenge is. So this is good to know because I feel that I'm a big proponent of customer development. And before we have product market fit, that's the thing to do to figure it out. Okay. Perhaps I should turn off notifications on Telegram. How about that? How do I... There we go. Okay. At least the desktop version, that's fine. Okay. So hopefully, as we go on, customer development survey as a service. I like that. So what we know about it. Customer development on autopilot. So what I can tell from the 24-hour startup landing page, the website that Manuel's created, we are in early access sign up, pre-launch sign up, right? There is a defined offer, which I like. We can update Telegram another time. Predefined early access pre-launch phase. So this is a productized survey. I think it's productized. It could be a SaaS application. I get the impression it might be because it uses the words on autopilot. Find your best customers and create a better product. I think this is probably the biggest reason why someone is doing customer development effort. In 4 Steps to the Epiphany, when Steve Blank talks about customer development, it's one of the first things that comes up. Unlock product market fit. Because you're trying to validate you understand the market and that you understand problems that they have. So maybe this isn't a productized service. Maybe this is a SaaS app from the screenshots and the pricing. Early bird lifetime deal. Okay, so with lifetime deal offer is how we're monetizing. Nopes. Looks like a SaaS for a survey. I'm gonna sign up for Familia, see what happens. I like that. Using checkout page for payments. And if I remember right, they are a no-code payment solution. Let's find out. So this is checkoutpage.co. Yeah, installed in minutes without coding. I'm assuming it integrates with Stripe. Yeah, Stripe fees. Okay. Okay. So for payment, I like that page. Let's see this. We're just gonna, we might use this for something later. checking out the flow. We're actually taking cash. This is nice to see. This is really well developed for a 24-hour startup. Okay, I like that flow. You go through, get early access, takes you to a landing page for the lifetime deal, which is great, getting some immediate revenue. Using checkout page, which is the no code Stripe checkout option. All right, let's go through what it does. So I assumed customer development as a service. We're either productize the actual work of putting out the surveys and compiling all the answers, or we are creating, we as in Manuel, is creating a SaaS that sends out surveys, collects feedback, and gets analytics within a dashboard, and that's an app that he's building, and this is just the marketing site. So I think that's the path that this is on, based on diving into the landing page here to get some context. So get answers, not numbers. Who are your best customers and exactly what makes them love your product? What should you build next, and how should you prioritize your product roadmap? Which features make your users upgrade? Okay, assuming this is a screenshot from, or mock-up from what the app does. Unlock product market fit. To me, this is like the biggest thing, or could be the only thing, as to why is someone looking for a solution related to customer development. I'm also assuming that people who are aware of customer development as a service, or as a one of the stages to pre-product market fit, are people who have somehow learned from Steve Blank. So this might be, I would say, more tech entrepreneurs or tech startup community, or anyone out of the Silicon Valley startup world, because that's where Steve does most of his education, and his stuff is all over the place. But people who are from that background, who are aware of it, don't need to know what does customer development mean. So we are assuming, so some assumptions we're making. Assuming people know what customer development means. So if I'm assuming they know what this is, then I have some assumptions about maybe they went to Y Combinator or startup school, or they took a class with Steve at Stanford, or they are a tech sales person in the Bay Area where this kind of topic comes up, but not nearly. It doesn't come up nearly as often as other things. So we talk about product market fit, but that is a much more well-known term in the startup world as a milestone. When do you reach a milestone? You reach product market fit, then you can scale, or you can get investment dollars, or something. But pre-product market fit is where honestly most indie makers and startup founders and indie hackers are, because they don't know who their market is, what their market's problems are, and what their market will pay for. So that's all of those questions are in the pre-product market fit world. And in that existence of pre-product market fit, you have to do, when actually a phrase that is often heard the one-liner, get out of the building, go talk to customers and get out of the building. This is what you're doing when you are getting out of the building. So you're pulling an Elvis, you're leaving the building, you're going somewhere, you're talking to people. That process, what you're doing, the phase that you are in, is customer development. And there's also customer validation. You know, I should pull up, I think he's got some slides. Steve Blank, customer validation, which is different, or a subset in the phase of customer development. Let's see, they're oh, okay, what does this one do? Yeah, okay, I like this. Can this get bigger? Discovery, validation, creation, scale company. So the first three of these dots is all pre-product market fit. You're generally not scaling the company, or you're not reaching the point where you're getting investment dollars until you have reached success in the first three of these blue dots. And this survey val helps, I'm assuming, somewhere between the second dot, customer validation, and customer creation, if I'm understanding it correctly. Let's keep going with this. This is important, this idea of customer development. I'm a really big fan of this idea because we're very product centric in 24-hour startups, as in, what can I build? What can I do? What can I create as functionality or as features, not as who are the people who have this problem and how can I connect to them and provide value that they'll pay me for? So it's a different perspective than what is traditionally found in business model generation. I much prefer Lean Canvas for this, where it's too focused on what can I make, which is, you know, I have to be maybe a little careful with how I use that word make, because as the community of makers, we are building things, but we are building things for others or for a market or to serve a purpose. And it could be that I am the only one. Like, it could be a market of one. Like my sales gong idea, I could be the only person in the world that wants to click a button and hear that brong sound. It could be. Am I willing to do that work anyway? Yes. Will I share it and see if anyone else likes it? Yes. And I'm okay with that, and I'm doing that not necessarily to work on development. I'm doing it for how can I reach my community of people who work remotely, are responsible for sales, and are not in a very structured, mature sales organization. Kind of the group of people that I'm finding to be able to be helpful with the skill set that I have and the kind of things that I'm interested in. So to me, it makes sense. From yesterday, we talked about tofu, top of funnel. The sales gong is a top of funnel asset because it's something I can give away for free, that people who will find value in it, if they like it, if they want to know about me, those are people who are likely to move down a funnel of interest for something related to helping with early sales or first sales for their either indie startup or their bootstrap startup, or they're doing some kind of consulting and they want to scale that up for more freelance money or something. So that's kind of the side tangent I wanted to put. The note that I'm going to put for this is customer is different than a product-centric development. Typical developer focus on features. Why is this not wrapping? Do I not have my sizing right? Let's do, perhaps I've zoomed in too much. Oh, there we go. I want to zoom in on here, I think. If you can't wrap, what can you do? Maybe I need to just set my margins differently. I want people to be able to see what I'm writing. There we go. Okay. Typical developer focus on features. I like building things. If you have said, I just like to make stuff or I like to build stuff, there is a danger in thinking that building stuff is the same as creating a startup that makes money. So it's part of it. You need to have some kind of functionality, but there has to be a market and there has to be people willing to pay you for something, some exchange. So the I like to build things can be, I like to build things for people who have problems I can solve for money. And if you don't like that part, the part where you find the people, talk to them, do sales, ask them to pay you, find someone who can help you. Either someone who will mentor you to hold you accountable to doing that part, or get a co-founder or hire someone, because you need the whole life cycle, so to speak, to go not just from development to, okay, now I am actually being paid for my work. And it's a different revenue model than a paycheck or a consulting gig or a freelance gig. All right, unlock product market fit. And he really likes this battle-tested surveys. I keep hearing the battle-tested. I'm thinking like Braveheart. It's just battle-tested, and I'm like, what is that? Battle-tested? That's what I'm thinking about. I could be wrong, but I'm like, I'm not messing with him. So that's, I think, battle-tested. I see Braveheart, which might be, that might be exactly what Manuel was thinking of, because it inspires a level of confidence. It's like, this guy, he's going for it. Automatic segmentation. So we're using a lot of detailed words. So if we're talking about segmentation, not every customer is created equally. Who knows about segmentation? Analytics users. Remove most survey tools expect you to be an expert. Easy to understand reports. Okay, so report. Okay. I have some assumptions. I'm squirreled. I found that thing where I was talking about and it's the thread I put it all together. Okay. This way it can come up in conversation. And you have some context what I was talking about for speak to in the way that people who have money understand. So this is not customer development as a service. Appropriate use of the strike through. It's you take action on, take action with something. Okay. So monetization's built in with early access lifetime deal offer and shows. So you have a pricing floor, shows pricing plans, tiered pricing plans. Establish value. So this idea of establishing value, where are we at? Yes. This establishes that per survey, rather than per month, which is fine. It's good to specify. Like something SurveyMonkey, Survey Anywhere. Who does that? Who does customer development? Surveys. You could even use Typeform. Okay, so now that I have an understanding of what the offer, a better understanding of what the offer is, battle tested, Braveheart, using battle tested survey. Battle tested. We really like that word. I don't know that it's all customer development. So if some things are feature requests, it also removes the talking to real people. A lot of customer development is actually customer interviews. So this is, I'll call this an opinion. Mr. development as interviews rather than surveys because we want the open-ended questions and non-verbal feedback. When I think of customer development, I thought it was productized because it requires interaction with someone in real time. And I would think you can productize setting up, doing the interviews, capturing the results, and then creating a report from that, which is different than what SurveyVal is doing, it's fine that it's different. Just my understanding, okay, customer development, I'm going to go talk to people, which means I'm not just filling out a survey. But I want to show, if we are in the world of surveys, what does customer development survey look like right now? And I wonder, it's like, okay, at its basic level, most basic, okay. Of so G-forms, Typeform, any of the major form providers can be used. The question is, why would you use a specialized service or a specialized form for customer development? So if the as-is state for someone who was going through customer development, we're assuming that they know what customer development is. We're assuming they're looking for a tool to do surveys, online surveys. How are they currently doing that? So for customer development. Okay. Basic. Or I should call it status quo. I'll set up a type. Right? Let's say that's basic. If I have this problem, I'm doing this action, how am I currently solving it? And it's related to surveys rather than interviews, which I really like. I prefer interviews. But you feel like you can get more responses by doing a survey in less time. But I feel like in pre-product market fit, you need to spend the time. You're not trying to be efficient. You need to do things the artisanal way, as in do things that don't scale. I'm just call that artisanal development. Is Paul Graham's do things that don't scale. I say artisanal, and I'm laughing at myself because I think about there are some things I enjoy the process of, like I have a manual coffee grinder. Now, I also have used and feel guilty for using one of those one-touch pod coffee things. I'm like, it's too easy. I don't enjoy it. So there are times when I will grind my beans. I'll get whole beans and I'll grind them right before I'm going to make my coffee. I don't do the get an electric grinder and grind them all. And this is when I'm enjoying the process. And I feel like it captures, when I say artisanal, I think of people who make bread, you know, like the $10 baguette people. Like, you know, it's handmade artisanal bread, you know, the avocado toast world. And then I think of, well, how am I artisanal where I enjoy the process so much? So, and the artisanal that I do is I have like 5 different ways of making coffee. And when I feel entirely guilty from doing the one-touch coffee pod thing or the Nespresso or the K cup thing, Keurig, I take it back. I take it back to I am going to grind beans, I'm going to boil water, and I'm going to French press. And all of that process is time for me to enjoy the coffee. So I'm very aware of what's going on. It takes more time. But when I think of how am I artisanal, I think of my coffee process. Artisanal, and it's more customer discovery. So there's that. Let's see. And when I say ask people to fill it out, I will do the very developer thing, and I will send them an email. We don't like to talk to people on the phone. We don't talk to people in person. So most likely, if we are developer solo founders and makers, we're going to ask people by sending an email rather than getting on the phone and asking them, hey, will you fill out, I want to learn about you and what's important. Could you fill out my super easy survey? Because we don't want to hear the rejection of people that say, I don't care about you. I care about me. So that's something that I hope is in the battle-tested questions, is how you do the layup to getting people to the point where they want to fill out the survey. And that could be that you share the very pretty responses with the survey participants. I think that is a very fair trade. If I give you my attention, what will I give back? Yeah, I want to know what everyone else says. If you're talking to people who are just like me, my peers, or other people who have the same problems that I do, I want to know how are they solving it and what are they interested in. So that's a very fair, what's in it for me. I'm going to write that down. Because when you want to fill out your survey. So there's one thing, when we talk about surveys, battle-tested questions, there is excellence related to survey creation. And anyone who's done any kind of survey work, where did I do this? I did this in college for some time. Was it part of my statistics? Something where you have to create survey questions, poll the data, and this is either live in person on the phone. It wasn't. It was. I didn't do a whole lot by email, and then you had to compile data based on what the responses were, or any kind of the government polling question. People, this is something. So we're not going to be talking about the survey question creation. I am assuming that whatever questions you're asking, they are going to be valid for what you want to know, and that could be what is battle tested. Customer surveys is, so the survey itself can be battle tested as in people will want to fill it out and complete it. That's that's the part that I want to focus on, is how do we get people to fill it out? So how do we get people to fill out your survey? You're awesome. Battle tested survey. So we do this by giving participants, users, future customers, by giving them something of value. And now I'm probably writing in the, there we go, something of value. So perhaps the responses as you're reaching out to, you can give them a prize, offer to give a prize or a freebie that makes sense to your survey audience. And if you're doing customer development, you want to give them something to of value that's free to people who could be your future customers. So you're establishing a relationship with these people. Offer to give a prize or a freebie that makes sense to your survey audience. AKA future customers. So the other thing that I want to talk about is getting people to fill out is so there's the WIFM, which is this. What's in it for me? Give them something of value. But then there's also the social proof, in that I've already talked to your peer at 5 other competing organizations. So to at company X, Y, Z, or I am reaching out to reaching out to some kind of compliment, the best company type. In your area. So this establishes that, why should I care? Oh, it's because Martha, who has the same job that I have at a competing company in town, has already spoken to you. Oh, well, that means that if they trusted you enough to share what they're doing, then I can trust that it's also going to be good for me, because I don't want to be doing something that my peers are doing. I want to, what is that? Keeping up with the Joneses. So if everybody is looking up, I'm going to look up too. So what did I watch? It's one of the influence factors. The guy with the elevator. The social norm elevator. Maybe there's just a picture. Oh, well, not a stock picture, but the idea of this is that due to social pressure or social proof, I'm going to do it because there must be something that is of value because other people are doing it. Okay. Or social, maybe not proof, but social proof or social pressure, which is the look backwards in elevator experiment. It could also be like one of those candid camera things too, where we watch the people. So I think in Cialdini's book Influence, the way that he talks about the social monkey see, monkey do is he had a group of people just staring and looking up at like a top of a building, like something's going on up there. And eventually, other people also stopped and started to look up. And of course, there's nothing up there. But now everyone is doing the looking up action, and now one person becomes 3 people, becomes 10 people, and now everyone's looking up. And the only reason why they're doing it is not because there's something above, but they're only doing it because the people who are walking by are doing it. In the other world of, I call it other world, regular life world, you'll find this with rubbernecking for accidents on the road, is that people stop and look. Well, why are they stopping and looking? Because everyone else is doing it. So it's that same concept of how can I use that construct of social pressure or social proof to have people want to stop and look up, because that's the action we want them to take by filling out the survey. So those are options. All right. All right. So before I talked about the descriptions about monkey see, monkey do, battle tested as the Braveheart. Customer development is a Steve Blank's concept when he talked about pre-product market fit, and we went through this diagram to show what makes up customer development. And I wanted to see what was the status quo, like if I were doing this. What would it be? I'm using G-Forms, type survey. No, Google Forms or Typeform. Yeah, to do this. Let's see what this looks like. So survey.io. Okay. If I were going for easy buttons, Typeform has a template just for customer development. And Typeform is really well known for their great user experience with forms. So this is what people would be doing right now. Google Forms is not as pretty. And I'm sure JotForms and all the other form providers are also capable of doing this. But this survey.io, SurveyMonkey. All right, I'm curious to know how that is here. By Qualaroo. Yeah, that's something I wanted to get to. Who is the Qualaroo founder? Is that Heaton? Or Neil Patel? I'm vaguely remembering someone very well known in the startup community. Customer decision analytics. So customer development is top of funnel for people looking for customer feedback to go to Qualaroo, which is a paid solution, qualitative insights. And how do they do decision analysis? Okay. And plans are subscription SaaS-based that have many features. Branching, email surveys, okay. So this is the bottom of the funnel where they go to is they go from survey.io, which is well ranked for getting customer development survey traffic, to product name, product type. Hey, I got a chat person. Bayo. What's up? I'm working on what it means to have customer development surveys. What does status quo look in Okay. I am going to let's see what right here. See, this is great. Bayo GG says, "What do you do?" I asked, "What do you already do for customer surveys?" And he responded, "I use SurveyMonkey." I'm gonna put this in the document because this is exactly what's important to think about. So, status quo for doing today. Erp. Oh, I gotta see if I can do my crazy awesome paste as plain text shortcut. Okay. So thanks for sharing. We'll look at a tool. Looking for feedback about survey val. See, okay. I feel like I should share this chat. Folks watching the stream, can they see the chat that's happening? I'm going to make sure I put a copy of it. See, these are good questions. Right. Not sure yet since it's in pre-launch. But for I'm putting this in here too, which is, here we go. Market segmentation, remove the guesswork. Get results immediately. Okay. So I think my question is it worth paying for this kind of survey? Oh, shoots way too high. With what? What could they break? So autopilot in the world of Tesla is the idea is you don't have to touch the wheel. And today it's autopilot and you crash and you're liable for it and now you're in jail. So yeah, the autopilot is curious because it's not like, does this also, when you say to find your best customers and create a better product, are you going to find the people to send the survey to? is awesome. Thanks, Bayo. GG. That's great feedback. Who I'm pretty sure is Prism Gaming UK on Twitter. So I'm stoked about that. To have a conversation about what it could mean for doing customer development. And I'm going to go take a break. Thanks for chatting. Yeah. Cool. I was like, I'm pretty sure my ancestry, isn't that like the family tree? I think they had a DNA special for Black Friday. I think I was like, okay, sure. Hmm. He's talking about how people will fill out a survey to get to whatever they want to get to next. So it can be like a paywall. Say, sure, we'll give you access to this, whatever it is they wanted, a gift card or some kind of prize. And to do that, they just fill out the survey and they don't actually think in depth about it. They just get through it as fast as they can. All right. Coffee for real this time. On voice or video chat. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that'd be the better way to do it. Because if it's just a form, how well do I know what you're talking about? Right? That's why I was like, customer interviews make sense because you actually have FaceTime with someone. Um, are you a tea drinker? Is that what this is about? I knew it. Like, I have some matcha tea. I got to be in the mood for it. It's not an everyday thing for me. Like, I do like the yerba mate stuff. That's good too. But yeah, I'm sticking with coffee right now. Like maybe on the weekend, that's when I usually like change it up is on the weekend. I'll be like, this is a great time to try something different. I'm gonna do a matcha tea latte. Okay, but I won't drink it during the week because I'm like, that's too much adventure for me. Like, or drinking out of the gourd. Yes, it is a habit. This is my regular habit. I talked earlier about my habit with making coffee, so yeah, I do that. That's definitely a habit that I have. All right. I will be back in a few. Thanks for chatting. I'll talk to you soon. There we go. Hello, live streamers. I'm back because I just realized that I have a lunch meeting, which means that I'm not going to stream my lunch meeting, and I probably will be leaving in 15 minutes for it. So let's see how much I can get done related to who to reach out to and where do we find them. And then how can we validate that people want customer development as a service or as a software. Okay. I haven't checked the YouTube world. Hold please. Let's see what that is. Sending data. Yes. Doesn't look like anything is happening on the YouTube live stream that I need to worry about. So that's good. So let me figure out so BayObGG talked about, can you get people to turn on their camera while they fill out a survey? All right, so what would I like to see? Something I didn't mention on here is, so we talk about, we're going on about what you get for analytics. So on, to find out if you're on the right track with your future customers. So since I now have this time crunch, Customer development. I'm sure we could also use the customer development. You're doomed. Okay, so we have an advocate. So customer development advocate. Set in show. Partnership. AKA the product guy. Which is related to where do product management people hang out? Hey. Hold on. This is a partnership opportunity or someone who would use your SaaS for their clients. Yeah, what's up with this hashtag? We're hiring a customer development in Barcelona. CRM. There's also who's hiring for cust dev skills. AKA someone like this. More Steve Blank goodness with customer development. I'm pretty sure he coined that phrase. If Eric Ries coined the lean startup, then Steve Blank is customer development. So I wonder if customer development it can be confused with customer success. Or are those the people who are paying for tools? Because once you're in this stage of customer success, you already have revenue, and you can buy things, as opposed to your pre-product market fit, and you might have less funds available to pay for tools. And we need people to pay for tools. Well, that's cool. What? Oh, I want this thing. Customer development workshop. These are people who are in the space for advocates who can either be a consultant, to refer people to your pre-launch, or people you can partner with to see about doing it. Dude, well done in the Clearly News. Do things at their own scale. So this is another advocate. Okay, let's see the hashtag. Hashtag's not very popular. What about the shorter custdev? Perhaps not as popular. Okay. Where do I want to go? Back here. Okay. So the path that I've gone on to finding people are different types of people who are advocates for doing customer development surveys. And we went to Twitter to find people who are already talking about customer development. And then we went to see, well, who are people who might refer your app as a tool when they're doing customer development, and maybe someone who can spread the word about you, or refer you some customers. And then I also looked for indicators of who is hiring or what companies are hiring related to customer development. And this is an indicator because if someone is hiring for a particular kind of role, they have budget. Budget means they pay for stuff. And I'm a big fan of finding where are people who are paying for things and how do we talk to them. So let's go. And I have initial questions to gauge. All right. To gauge interest in survey app. So this one is for founders, product address. Typeform users doing custom tab. Today I think I want to show who has we're going to look at find that lead. So there's tons of tools to find going to figure out how this is to use find that lead. Okay. So find that lead lets you enter a social URL and it will tell you if there is a publicly available email address associated with that social profile. So since we've done a lot of looking on Twitter, I wanted to show, okay, the email for the people about and find that lead is a freemium tool and it gives you, I think, 200. So let's find that lead.com. There are other tools that do this. This is one that I've used and was off the top of my head. They have a Chrome extension and a Google Sheet add-on. I'm gonna take a look. I'm not sure what I'm gonna get back here, but we'll let that do its thing. And no dice. Yes, dice. But I would not be emailing people. Okay, so we got a win there. But the other thing is the The other way that we can do that is by, we can still use Hunter by, let's say, who is this? If we have a domain, we can do a domain search if they have one. So we're here. And we can always do a Twitter DM. All right, so initial outreach questions. This is to gauge interest. So we are problem validating. So these are the questions, and then we are customer validating. To the right people. And then this is logistics of getting emails, which getting emails is not a difficult process like it used to be before, which means that people get more emails from strangers. So you should be really relevant and respectful of the time that you're asking for to people to read. So you want one screen's worth of copy when you're sending an email. So you don't want it to be this super long thing where you're going on and on about all of the wonderful benefits of SurveyVal. The goal is really just to establish, do they have an interest enough to start a conversation? So the goal of any outreach email, any cold email that you're sending, anything related to sales, is to have a one-on-one conversation where they have interest of some type. It is not to drive traffic to a website. It is not to drive clicks to a purchase or a checkout cart. It is not to get links to a landing page. The goal of any outreach email is to have a person-to-person connection with a two-way conversation of some type. And then from there, it moves forward to other things, because you can do anything for cold emails to get people to respond. But the thing where it actually moves forward is when it's not in, the ball is in the other person's court to be able to interact with you and give you feedback and say, yes, I'll give you time, or no, I won't give you time, but I will email you back and forth. I will send 20 email replies to you as long as you don't ask me to get on the phone. And then there's some other people who'll get your email and then they'll never respond. And then you give them your phone number and then they call you in 5 minutes and they say, oh yeah, this is what's going on. And be flexible for how people want to talk to you about whatever the topic is you're reaching out about. So some folks are really happy on email. Some folks, they don't even leave direct messages. They have a whole conversation, threads, weeks long, won't talk to me by email, won't pick up a phone, won't go on a video conference with me, but will DM me like we're BFFs. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I feel like this is a slower process. Same thing with LinkedIn. So if you have LinkedIn connections and you're meeting people on LinkedIn, it's great to have the messenger for short things to say, like Twitter-sized bites. But then it gets unwieldy to manage and be like, I can't keep going back through this messenger threads. Can we move this out of Messenger or LinkedIn? And can we move this onto a phone call? Can we move this onto a Zoom conference? Or can we do this in person? Because that's where you actually move forward with the sales process. You go for, or the funnel analogy of you move down from interest to sale. And that doesn't necessarily happen in the first email or the first message that's sent or the first reply that comes back. Sometimes there are people who are in that, yeah, I'm looking for this right now. I want to buy. I already looked. Let's go. The likelihood you're going to reach that person, I mean, it's very, very, very slim. I wouldn't even say like 1 in 100, maybe 1 in 1,000. That the luck that you'll have, find the right person, give them the right message. That person is already looking, so they're already in a buying window. They're already pre-sold on what it is you're doing. That they would get your email right at that moment, I'm not so sure. But it could be that they are somewhere in the buying window. So I have a guide, and I talk about this, that I'm working on for Outbound Olga. An outbound guide for indie hackers, makers, and solo founders for how to do outreach. And this concept I'm talking about, the reference metaphor that is from the development world is the software development lifecycle. So you know how they start from an idea and all the way till they're shipped, and then there's the maintenance. So in the world of there's a buyer lifecycle, where I have to find my guide, and then I'll pull up this image, which is, there we go. I talk about it as the magic of when. Burp. I'm just gonna move this over here. Okay. Magic of when. Boom. So when I talk about the likelihood that someone you're going to send an email and someone's going to like, I'm in, send me an invoice, or I'm in, send me the checkout page. The likelihood that you're going to go from, I'm scared to send this first email and talk to someone, to that person replying with, shut up and take my money, very slim, because there is a buyer life cycle of interest. So I got to take some training courses back in the day with Chet Holmes, who created The Ultimate Sales Machine, which is a book that is still a sales bestseller today. And he has this concept of there are only 3% of people who are looking to buy something at any one time. So in the entire world of people, so if we're talking about product managers, for example, for SurveyVal, there are, in the world of product managers, only 3% are looking for a tool for customer development. So of those 3%, how likely do you think you're going to be reaching out to that gigantic pool, that you're going to reach out to the 3% while they're in that buying window? The likelihood is not really strong, so don't count on it. But what is likely is that they're going to have some awareness of who you are, that you are someone, they're going to associate you. Everyone likes to put people in a box. As soon as we start a conversation or we meet someone new, is where do they fit in my world? And if SurveyVal is customer development software, that's the box that we want to be in for when they're ready. We can establish a conversation. And when they are in that buying, or they're open to buying, and they see the value, then you move forward with a conversation that leads to a sale. All right, I have to get ready for this meeting. But I wanted to mention this because the goal for outreach, and I haven't said this yet on the live stream, outreach for early sales and first customers and beyond, but I think this is most relevant to 24-hour startups, is to have a one-on-one conversation with someone in your market. Problem you solve. Okay. Just to kind of level set expectations. So now that we've talked about, we found a whole bunch of random people on Twitter, We have some baseline things that we want to talk about to gauge interest for problem validation. We're doing this without mentioning a whole lot about the journey that Manuel has been on with SurveyVal, or the 24-hour startup, because people are interested in what's going on in their world, and in their world, it's about getting to product market fit faster. And if you could survey your future customers, would that be of value to you? That's about them, not about you and how awesome you are at customer development. Same thing for product managers. So if they have metrics that their job measures them on, if they have KPIs related to feature releases, downloads, engagement, that kind of thing, how can you phrase the value of doing customer development surveys with SurveyVal for them, like in their shoes? Like so much so, I want to put, where's the shoe icon? Oh yeah, this is so relevant. Don't worry, I'm putting all the shoes. Lady shoes, and by lady shoes I mean heels, and sneakers. It's plenty. Okay. The other reason why I wanted to find gauge interest for starting a conversation related to this is because where the website is for SurveyVal, I have not seen if you've done any beta users or beta testing, because there's not feedback from people who have used the service or screenshots of existing accounts or demo accounts. You've got these really pretty graphics, which is in for landing pages. And you have the quote from Steve Blank, which establishes authority related to customer development, but not things about what people who are actually doing customer development have to say about how what you're doing works, or their previous experience with doing surveys. So those are things that we want to add, and the way that we get people to give us that is we give them something of value. So either you say, hey, can I run a survey for you on my platform, and you give me a testimonial, or say what did you get out of it, and what is it worth to you, or can you refer me to someone else and share it on social? That's the thing that needs to be on there, even while you're in pre-launch, because that establishes proof and gives people a better idea of what you do. Because for me, in customer development on autopilot, I'm thinking you're doing all the work of getting out of the building and talking to the people, which is not the same thing as filling out a survey online. And if I am familiar with this world and I misunderstood how it worked, so are other people. So the customer development on autopilot, to me, autopilot, like our previous chat with Bayo GG, I have assumptions about what that means. So to me, autopilot is you're going to find people to email for my survey. You're going to create the survey questions for me based on the battle-proven templates that you have. You're going to send out the surveys, and you're going to give me back the responses or analytics in a real-time basis. All of that is what I'm assuming it means on autopilot. If I'm using that about, okay, so you're going to help me find my best customers and create a better product, well, I'm assuming you're going to do all that work. So that's more than just finding or taking in survey responses and creating an analytics dashboard. That's more about the process of finding people to reach out to, the cadence of how to get them to respond to an email. So if you have the basic 100 up to 100 responses, will you send 500 survey requests? Because there's a drop off between each milestone of expected engagement of people. So between the time you ask for someone to fill out a survey, they say yes, they get the survey, or you do it through the phone, the likelihood that they're going to answer the questions, whether it's one question or 10 questions, drops off each time you have an additional field or question that you're asking them. And then so when you get to the actual responses, it's a much smaller number than what you started with. So are you going to do that part of the work? Or are you just going to say, hey, you have this kind of business or product. Here are our 5 or 10 questions that we think you should ask for customer development for this goal. And this goal could be, what features should I create? Do I understand who my customers are? That has value too, but I have expectations based on what I think this word means. So what would help is if I would see how it worked, or if you gave me like a case study example of someone who it could be you, it could be for another app that you have, the process that you went through. So show me the pain points. So while this gives features, it doesn't hurt enough. So what hurts from a bootstrap perspective is we're going to spend hours and hours building something, and if no one ever uses it, that sucks. Or you can build anything, but that doesn't mean that your market wants everything that you can build. And you have all these features and you want to go and increase your freemium conversion rate to paid users. How do you get that working? So there are ways that you can phrase these that are more centered around the problems of your customers, like which features makes your user upgrade. The way that you have this report to be actionable to the person who's receiving it, you want the landing page to say the same thing. I think that's the feedback that I have. Okay, I have to get ready for my meeting, and I will be back as soon as I'm back from that. And I feel good. Okay, I'm gonna pause the stream and then I will pick up the stream again as soon as I come back. Okay, thanks for watching and joining. Peace out. See you this afternoon.